Hello everyone. After a long, exhausting day in the office, I subscribed to this channel and enjoyed listening to it. I returned to the dinner table to eat with my family. Despite the fatigue that clung to me like a heavy cloak, I loved this scene. The hum of the dishwasher, the laughter of the children, and the aroma of the roast chicken. This was my life, my world. I never thought I needed more. I glance across the table at Emily, my wife of 12 years, chatting to James and Ella about their school day. Her voice is bright and full of life, even as her eyes flicker with something I can't read. Emily has been distant lately, and sometimes in those moments, she seems to be living with us on autopilot, never really present. I blame myself. It could be due to my long working hours. I work overtime at the factory, desperately trying to make us financially successful. For our children and her, I believe that if I work hard enough and make enough sacrifices, Emily and the children will be able to live the life they deserve. I do my best to ensure that they have a stable home, without expecting anything in return. But recently I have noticed that Emily has started to distance herself from me. At first I didn't think much of it. We were both caught up in the daily grind. With work, childcare, running errands, it can get monotonous. I thought we were just having a bit of a down period. That's what marriages are like. They go up and down. I'm sure we're strong enough to get through anything. John handed over the salt, and Emily's voice interrupted my thoughts. I handed her the salt, and our hands touched as she took it from me. She seemed to flinch, but maybe I imagined it. I stared at her, trying to catch her eye, but she avoided mine, absorbed in sprinkling the salt on the plate. My stomach felt a little queasy. The children continued to chatter away, blissfully unaware of the tension between us. I tried to escape it by focusing on them. James was telling a ridiculous story about how a frog had got into his school locker. I try to immerse myself in the moment, but Emily's silence weighs on me. I wonder if she's okay. That's what I love about Emily. She can light up a room and bring order to the chaos of our lives. She always knows how to take care of everything. The house, the kids, me. I still love her, but lately her radiance has faded. There's no sparkle in her eyes anymore. I can't think of a reason for it, even though I'm trying so hard. Is it me? Is it something I've done? Or is it that I haven't done anything? I keep it to myself, and later I talk to her, ask if she's okay. Maybe we should go away for the weekend, just the two of us. Away from the kids, the responsibilities. Maybe remind ourselves why we fell in love in the first place. Emily's laughter breaks my thoughts, shrill and piercing. You know, I probably would have preferred to be with another man, she said with a smile, and the air in the room seemed to stop. Her words stung. They had been a warm dinner, and for a moment I didn't know how to react. I just stared at her. My fork clattered on the plate. My hands went numb. Really, Emily, I tried to control my voice. Do you think this is funny? She shrugged and said without looking up, It was just a joke, John, relax. Although I could hear the casualness in her tone, I couldn't shake the prickling feeling. It wasn't just the words, it was the way she said them. She didn't seem to care what effect they would have on me. I sat there, torn inside, not sure if it was a bad attempt at humor or something much, much darker. Seriously, Emily, what's going on? Are you trying to tell me something? She sighed and rubbed her temples as if I had given her a headache. John, you're overreacting. It was just a stupid comment. I didn't mean any harm. But it was too late. The seed of doubt had been planted and was growing fast. I grabbed my keys. I needed to get away from home to clear my head. I was going to go see Dave, I muttered to myself as I walked towards the door. John, wait. Emily came after me, but I didn't stop. If I had, I wouldn't have gone. I knew I would say something I would regret when I drove to my friend's house. My mind was racing. What had just happened? Was she really joking, or was there something else going on? The thought of her with someone else was unacceptable. But now, doubt was like a shadow, haunting me. Dave greeted me with a beer, confused. He looked confused when I appeared at his door and asked if everything was okay. He asked me, I shook my head and took a big sip of beer. I don't know what Emily just said. Something strange, very strange. I hesitated, feeling these words are very strange. She joked about being with other men. But it didn't feel like a joke. Dave raised his eyebrows. This is too messy, yes, I muttered, staring into the distance. My heart was churning. Yes, I slept on Dave's sofa that night, my mind replaying Emily's words. I kept going over that moment, the smile on her face as she said it, and the casual cruelty behind the joke. As much as I tried to convince myself that I might have overreacted, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. The next morning I woke up early. Dave's couch made my back stiff and sore, and it didn't help to distract me from the nagging thought that wouldn't go away. It was hovering in my mind. I picked up my phone and noticed a few missed calls and a voice message from Emily. I hesitate for a moment before playing it. Her voice is soft and apologetic. "Hey John, I'm sorry about last night. I didn't mean to upset you. I know you're angry, but can we talk when you get home? I love you." The apology sounds sincere, but even so, it doesn't calm the storm inside me. I go home, not knowing what to expect. Maybe I'm overreacting, or maybe she just played a bad joke and I'm taking it too seriously. After all, we have 2 children together and we have built a life together. I need to believe that our bond is stronger than a passing comet. But when I get home, the house is eerily quiet. The children are still asleep and Emily is nowhere to be seen. I check the kitchen, the living room, and finally the bedroom, which was also empty, except for the faint sounds coming from downstairs, the faint sounds coming from the hallway. I crept towards the bedroom door we had shared for many years. The crack in the door was just wide enough for me to hear the low laughter and whispers. My heart started to race. The nausea intensified in my stomach. I gently pushed open the door and took a look inside. At that moment, my world Emily was on our bed, entwined with 5 men. It was a grotesque display of betrayal, like a nightmare from which I couldn't wake up. They were laughing, their hands all over her as if I didn't exist, as if the life we had built together meant nothing. My vision blurred, my heart pounded with pain. I felt like I wasn't in my body, watching this unfold in slow motion. I wanted to scream, to tear them all apart, but I couldn't move, couldn't speak, just stood there, unable to believe how this could happen, how she could do this to me, after I'd given everything, sacrificed for our family. For her, how she could destroy it so easily. I did my best not to storm into the room and tear those people apart, but I had to do something. I had to do something. I stumbled back to the garage, looking for something, anything that would release the anger inside me. I grabbed the first thing I could find, the fire extinguisher. My mind raced with blind fury, but all I could keep thinking was that I just wanted to stop this, to show them what they had done. I stormed into the house, my blood boiling, my heart pounding. I kicked the bedroom door open so hard it hit the wall. "What the hell is this?" I screamed, my voice shaking with rage. The laughter immediately died away. The men panicked and fled, in all directions, as shocked as I was. Emily's eyes widened in horror, but I didn't give her the chance to explain. I slammed the fire extinguisher into one of the guys' faces, and he passed out before hitting the floor. Chaos erupted as they scrambled to get off the bed, but I wasn't finished. I swung again and hit the other guy in the jaw, and he fell like a stone. The others pounced on me, pinning me to the ground, fists and feet raining down on me from all sides. But I didn't feel pain. I felt only anger, betrayal, and a fierce urge to destroy everything in the room. Suddenly I heard the sound of tiny footsteps in the hallway. Mum, Dad, James. The voices were soft and confused. The room fell silent. The men stopped, exchanging eyes. Emily turned around and saw her son standing there, sleepily confused. "Everyone left," Emily whispered, her voice trembling with shame. Those people silently straightened their clothes and rushed out of the room as fast as they could. I lay on the ground, covered in bruises, blood, and pain, but my heart was broken beyond repair. Emily stood there, not saying a word, not even daring to look at me. I didn't know what to say. There were no words that could make it all right, no way to undo what I had seen. All I knew was that the life I thought I had, the marriage I believed in, was gone forever, and the woman I loved, the mother of my children, was now a stranger. I lay on the floor for what felt like hours, my body aching, my mind racing, the weight of betrayal making it hard to breathe. Emily, the woman I loved and built a life with, had turned our marriage into a joke. 5 men had been in our bed to fulfill some sick fantasy. It was so quiet in the house now. The children had gone to bed. Where was Emily? I look around, but I can't see her anywhere. My head is throbbing, my bruises are protesting, and I slowly hobble to the bathroom. I glance at myself in the mirror and see my face is swollen, my lips are cracked, and dried blood is caked on my chin. I hardly recognize myself, but I'm not sure if that's because of the bruises or because I'm realizing that my life has just been shattered. I need to pull myself together. I need to wash the blood off. I need to think. I turn on the tap and splash water on my face to try and clear my head from the fog, but when I close my eyes, all I can see is her, Emily, lying in bed with them. My stomach twists in pain, and a sour taste wells up in my throat, but I force myself to swallow it down. I can't be weak, not now, not ever. I grabbed a towel. When I closed my eyes, all I could see was the image of her lying on the bed, and my stomach churned in my throat, but I forced myself to suppress it. I couldn't be weak, not now, not ever. I grabbed the towel and patted my face dry when I heard the front door open. I froze for a moment, listening, and footsteps sounded in the hallway, followed by a low voice. It was Emily speaking softly to the children. I took a deep breath, walked out of the bathroom, and along the hallway to the front door, where she was helping the children put on their shoes. "I'm taking them to my mother's for the night," she said, her back to me. There was no trace of shame or remorse in her voice, only indifference, as if today were just an ordinary day, as if she hadn't destroyed everything for us. I didn't respond. I couldn't. I just stood there, my heart filled with anger, hatred, and above all, a burning desire for revenge. As I watched her help James put on his jacket, a sudden collapse of emotion inside me made it clear that there was no going back to the life we once had, and there was no way to undo what had happened. Emily was beyond redemption, and now it was time for her to pay the price. The children hugged me goodbye, unaware of the storm brewing inside me. "I love you, Dad," James said, his little arms wrapping around me. "I love you too, mate," I whispered, hugging him a little tighter and longer than usual, as if it were the last time I felt anything normal. As they left, closing the door softly behind them, I stood in silence, my thoughts racing. Anger was no longer just anger, it was determination. I was going to take away everything she had taken from us, our marriage, our family, and the life I thought we had built together. Now I was going to take away everything she held dear. I need help. I can't do this alone, no matter how much I want to. I want to walk out of the house and set everything on fire. I know I need a plan, a smart plan, and there's only one person who can help me with that, and that's my sister Jessica. She's a powerhouse in the courtroom, a lawyer who never takes advantage of people, especially not cheaters. She's reputed to be one of the best divorce lawyers in the state, and I know she'll be on my side ready to tear Emily apart. All I had to do was pick up the phone. I dialed her number, paced the living room, the phone rang. It was late. I wasn't even sure if she would answer, but after the fourth ring her voice came through, a little muffled but clear. "John, it's late, what's wrong?" I took a deep breath, my throat caught. "Jess, I need your help, it's Emily, she's been cheating on me." There was a moment of silence on the phone, and I could hear her breathing. The words weighed heavily on my heart. "How do you know?" I swallowed hard, fighting the urge to scream. I caught her in bed with 5 other men in our bed. There was a pause, and then Jessica's voice turned cold. "What the hell, John Asher CK? Are you serious?" "I caught them last night. She just dropped the kids off at her mom's. But Jessica, I want to destroy her. I have to. I can't let her get away with this." I heard Jessica, the lawyer, and she's already taking action. "Okay, John, you're right. You can't just let her ride you, but we have to handle this properly. If we go now without a plan and make a scene, she might get more from you than you want. Are you sure you want to go down this road? There's no going back once we start." I don't even hesitate. Yes, I'm sure I want everything. The house, the children, everything. She thinks she's entitled to it too, but she doesn't deserve anything. I want her to have nothing. "Okay," she says, her voice calm but firm. "We'll start by recording everything. Do you have any proof? Photos? Messages? Anything?" "Not yet, but I will." "Good. You'll need it if you want to win. And you need to stay calm. Don't let her see you crumble. You're in for the long haul, John." "I will," I said, although my hands were still shaking with anger. "I'll set everything up. Can we meet first thing in the morning?" She agreed. "We'll sort it out." As I hung up the phone, I suddenly felt a strange calm. Jessica was right. I needed to be smart about this. Emily had no idea what was coming. When I was finished, she wouldn't even recognize the life she once had. I stood in the empty house, looking around. The remnants of my old home no longer belonged to me, but were about to become a battleground. Emily thought she could trample on me, that she could betray me and mock me to my face and still come out on top. But she was wrong. This is a war now, and I will not lose. When Emily came home, I was sitting in the living room. Her footsteps echoed through the house. She came in, acting as if everything was normal. She put the key on the kitchen counter, expressionless, as if last night's betrayal was just another ordinary moment in our marriage. "John," she called calmly, "we need to talk." I stood up, my muscles tense, my heart still pounding, my anger having built up all day. I had been waiting for this moment, for her to come in casually, as if she could sweep her filth under the carpet and pretend that everything was fine, but she could no longer hide it, and I was going to expose her lies. She walked into the living room and saw me standing there. She stopped in her tracks. My gaze was cold and unwavering as I said, "Let's talk. How about you start by explaining how you managed to ruin 12 years of marriage overnight?" Her face tensed, and the mask of indifference slipped for just a second before she forced herself back into place. "John, I don't know what you think you saw, do you?" I stepped forward, my voice shaking with anger. "How dare you stand there insulting me, pretending this is some kind of misunderstanding?" She crossed her arms defensively and narrowed her eyes. "It was just a mistake, John. A bad night. It doesn't mean anything. A bad night." I laughed bitterly, the sound harsh even to my own ears. 5 people in our bed, Emily. That's not a mistake. That's a bloody insult." She didn't respond, but instead averted her gaze, her arms still crossed as if she alone was entitled to be angry. "I want your phone," I demanded, my voice. Her head snapped round to me. "No, John, you're being ridiculous," I said, stepping closer, my blood boiling. "If it was just one night, then there shouldn't be anything on your phone." Emily's face went pale, her eyes flashing with fear and anger, and she instinctively backed away, clutching her purse. "John, I'm not going to give you my phone." I lunged forward and grabbed her wrist. "Give me the phone," she screamed, jerking her hand back and pushing me back. "No, you have no right to take my phone." I didn't care anymore. The lies and excuses had been shattered. I wasn't going to let her get away with it. I reached into her purse and took out the phone, snatching it from her grasp. "What a piece of crap, CK John!" she screamed hysterically, trying to wrestle the phone back. I held the phone out of her reach, my heart racing. She lunged at me, swinging her fists, desperate to get her phone back. Her fingernails scratched my arm as I pushed her away and tried to steady the phone. But suddenly she picked up a plate from the kitchen counter and threw it straight at me. It happened so fast that I barely had time to react. The ceramic plate smashed against the side of my head, and I felt a sharp pain that hit my temple. For a moment everything went blurry, the room spun, and I stumbled back, covering my head. I could feel warm blood running down the side of my face, but I didn't care. I looked up at her, her chest rising and falling, her eyes full of anger. "You're crazy, you've lost your mind," she spat. I wiped the blood from my temple, took a deep breath and felt the anger surge through me, but I wouldn't fight back. I wouldn't let her see me lose control. Instead, I did the one thing she didn't expect. I calmly bent down, unlocked her phone with the passcode she thought I'd forgotten, and started going through the contents. Emily's face turned pale, and John was very possessive. I ignored her. My heart was still pounding as I went through her messages. My vision was a little blurry from the shock, but I continued to go through them. They were full of explicit texts, pictures, and videos. What they said to each other, the messages were full of things that made I couldn't believe it, coming from the same woman I'd built a life with. She lunged at me again, trying to take the phone from me. "Stop it. Give it back to me." I grabbed her shoulders and pushed her back, my face inches from hers. "Do you think I'm stupid? You think I don't know what's going on? I saw it last night, but now I have proof. You're not just a liar, Emily. You're a fucking liar." Her tears welled up in her eyes, but I didn't care. I had no sympathy for her anymore. I was sick of apologies, excuses, and false remorse. God knows how long she had been lying to me, and now she was going to pay. "John, I didn't want it to come to this," she sobbed, her voice becoming hoarse. "Things have gotten out of hand. Please stop." "Stop," I repeated in a low voice, the tone suffocatingly calm. "No, Emily, I'm just getting started." "Stop!" she screamed, but her voice trembled with panic. "Now you don't understand, John, you don't understand," I yelled, wiping the blood from my face with the back of my hand. "You think I don't understand, Emily? What's there to explain about being in our bed last night with 5 men?" She stopped panting, her face pale, her lips trembling, but she had nothing to say. There was no excuse for what she had done. The net she had made was big enough to hide Lee. I didn't care about the cut on my head. The pain is secondary, a dull ache that is almost numb. There is only one thing I care about now, and that is to get to the bottom of this, to find out just how deep her betrayal goes. I sit on the edge of the sofa and turn my phone over to enter the passcode. I know she hasn't replaced the screen, and it unlocks. "John, please." Emily's voice is weak and almost pleading. "Don't, but I've already opened it." The first thing I see is her messaging app, with dozens of unread text messages, all from names of people I don't know. I open one of the messages and a sharp pain shoots through my stomach. The message is short, just a few back and forth messages, but it's enough to make me feel like someone's punched me in the stomach. "Stranger, last night was crazy. You look so beautiful, Emily. You are amazing. Can't wait to see you again." I stare at the words. My mind goes blank. I scroll up and her nude photos appear. I break out in a cold sweat. I open another thread. My hands tremble slightly. "Stranger, still sore from Saturday. You're amazing, Emily. You know me. I like a rough flirt. Don't keep me waiting. There are more photos. Intimate shots I've never seen before. She's lying on our bed. I can hardly breathe." I open it. Saturday's wounds are still fresh. "You're amazing, Emily. You know me. I like rough flirting. Don't keep me waiting too long. There are more photos. Intimate shots I've never seen before. She's lying in our bed. I can hardly breathe." Each new message that opens is worse than the last. Dozens of men are chatting with her as if they'd been with her for months or even years. Some of the conversations were explicit, so Val, I can hardly read this without feeling sick. This is not just an affair. It's not a one-off mistake. This is her life now. Our marriage is a joke to her. Then I saw the folder in her photo album with a simple heart emoticon. I opened it and almost dropped the phone. There were dozens of videos. I hovered my thumb over one of them, hesitated, but the anger in me was so strong that I clicked on it. The screen filled with images that I will never be able to forget. Emily was naked and entwined with multiple men, their bodies contorted in all kinds of strange positions. They were in different places, some in hotel rooms, some in our own bedroom, and there were other women, their faces alight with pleasure. But my attention never left Emily. The sounds, the laughter, her flushed cheeks from the laughter, it was all etched in my mind, every second so clear. My vision blurred, my body numb from what I was seeing, my heart pounding in my chest, but no longer from anger, but pure, unadulterated destruction. This was my wife, the woman I loved, the woman I trusted. I looked at her again and again, over and over again, with these men, who were strangers to me but obviously familiar to her. She had invited them into the most intimate part of our lives, our marriage, and nothing was left but humiliation and filth. I looked up at her as she stood a few feet away, tears running down her face, her hands pressed to her mouth, as if she couldn't believe what I had seen. But her tears didn't move me, no longer. The part of me that had once cared about her was gone, erased. "How long?" I whispered, my voice trembling with anger. "How long has this been going on?" She didn't answer. Her eyes were full of guilt and shame. I stood up, shaking with rage. "How long, Emily?" 2 years, she whispered, barely audible. I felt like someone had punched me in the chest. 2 Fahrenheit's asterisk king, 2 years. My thoughts went back to everything. That night she stayed late at work, that trip, the way she came home barely looking at me, it was all a lie. Every moment we'd spent together over the past 2 years had been a farce, covering up her twisted, sick double life. "You've been doing this for 2 years, I asked myself, hardly able to believe the words coming out of my mouth. Emily sobbed and fell to the ground. "John, I didn't want things to come to this. It started out stupid, just for fun. I never ever wanted to hurt you." "Fun?" I yelled, my voice shaking with anger. "You call this fun? You've been Fasterous King for 2 years, in our bed, sending photos and videos to strangers, and you think that's fun?" I threw the phone on the floor and watched it shatter into pieces, just like the wreckage of our marriage. Emily cried even harder, her whole body shaking as she tried to crawl towards me, reaching out to grab my hand, but I shook her off. The sight of her touching me made me sick. "Haven't you, the king of Assyria, touched me?" I hissed. "You've ruined everything, everything we had." She looked up at me with red, puffy eyes. "I can fix it, we can fix it. I'll do anything, John, please." I stared at her in disgust. There was nothing to fix. Emily, you made your choice and now you have to live with the consequences. I turned away and left her crying on the floor. The images I saw were burned into my mind, and I could never turn back. There was no more us. For the next few days I was in a daze, like a possessed man, driven by an unwavering goal to destroy Emily's life built on lies and betrayal. No more doubts, no more guessing I saw on her phone, those dirty text messages, those videos. There was no going back. I was clear in my mind. I had to end this marriage and take away everything she had. I wasted no time. The morning after I discovered the videos, I met Jessica. She looked at the bruises on my face, the cut on my temple and the anger in my eyes, didn't ask any questions, just listened quietly as I told her how I had caught Emily, what I had read on her phone, and the lies and infidelity. Jessica's expression never wavered. She was like a shark in these moments, and at this moment I needed her more than ever. We'll file for divorce, right away, Jessica said coldly. You have to file for divorce first, John, so you can get the upper hand. Trust me, I'll get what I want, I said without hesitation. I won't let her have the children. She doesn't deserve to raise them. You'll get the children, Jessica replied, her confidence unshaken, especially with the evidence. You have proof of infidelity in the video. No judge will grant her custody. We will also fight for the house, child support, and full custody. She will be lucky to get away with just that. I nodded numbly, accepting the reality. The woman I loved, the mother of my children, none of that mattered anymore. She was now just a stumbling block in my life, something that needed to be removed so that I can start again. Emily has given everything for me, and now I'm taking it all back. The documents were submitted within a few days. Jessica is very efficient, and by the end of the week, Emily had already received them. She didn't expect me to do this, and the look on her face when I handed her the envelope almost satisfied the raging anger in my heart. We haven't spoken much since. She still lives at home, but I've moved out. I can't stand being in the same room as her. She ruined everything. I can't stand sleeping in the same bed as her. She betrayed me. I packed my bags, took the kids, and found temporary accommodation nearby. James and Ella didn't ask too many questions. They knew something was wrong. Children can always sense when something's wrong, but I didn't want to involve them. To them, Mom and Dad were just temporarily apart, and they didn't need to know the ugly details. Emily tried to contact me several times, sending me texts and leaving voice messages, but they all said the same thing: apologies, promises that she would change, but I didn't respond. Every time I heard her voice, all I could think about were the videos, the texts with strangers. The betrayal was too deep to repair. She even showed up at my temporary residence, knocked on the door, and begged me to talk to her. I didn't open the door. I stood on the other side of the door and listened to her crying and her pleading. I felt only coldness. John, please, she cried. I know I messed up, I know I hurt you, but we can fix this, we can go to counseling, we can start again, just give me a chance. With my forehead against the door, my eyes closed and my fists clenched at my sides, part of me wanted to open the door, scream at her, break something, anything, just to release the anger inside. But I didn't. I stood there and let her words bounce off me, as if they meant nothing, because they did. After a while she left. I heard her car drive away, and I let out a long breath, feeling the tension slowly drain from my body. That was it. From now on she could cry, beg, do whatever she wanted, but it was over. She had made her choice, and now she would have to live with the consequences. The divorce process moved quickly thanks to Jessica. She applied for full custody, citing Emily's infidelity and the video as evidence of poor judgment and immoral behavior. It was cruel, but it worked. Emily was too ashamed and devastated to fight back. I knew I had no foothold. I took the children. They were mine now, my responsibility, my life. Emily won't touch them, won't poison them with her lies, won't drag them into the life she once had. I won't allow it. The house is next. The house I worked so hard to build. The house we once shared. I don't want it anymore, but I won't let her keep it. The house is now tainted, filled with memories I can never erase. Jessica exerted so much pressure during the negotiations that Emily was eventually forced to agree to sell it. I don't care about the money. I just want it gone. Emily tried to fight for visiting rights, but even that was a lost battle. The evidence was against her, and she knew it. In the end, she accepted supervised visits, which were few and far between and always under surveillance. It was over. I stood there, holding the final divorce papers in my hands, staring at my name printed next to Emily's. The marriage was over in legal terms, and there would be no more Emily, no more pretending that it was all over. As I looked around at the small apartment I had rented with my children, I felt an inexplicable emptiness in my chest. It was a small place, but it was ours. I had everything I wanted, including full custody, a financial settlement, and control over my life. I had won, but as I stared at the papers, I realized that the victory didn't feel the way I thought it would. There was no sense of satisfaction I was hoping for. It wasn't a victory, it was just empty. Because no matter how much I took from Emily, no matter how much I destroyed her life, the truth was that she had already destroyed mine, and there was no going back. Thanks for watching. Please write your comments on the story in the comments and subscribe to the channel. Your comments will inspire me to continue to release this type of video.